Imagine waking up in Pozzuoli, Italy, to the ground trembling beneath your feet. Not once, not twice, but over 50 times in just 1 week. These aren't random quakes, they are shaking one of the world's most dangerous supervolcanoes, Campi Flegrei. Scientists call it a ticking time bomb, capable of an eruption bigger than Vesuvius, the volcano that buried Pompeii. And now, the swarm of earthquakes beneath its surface is raising fears that pressure is building deep underground. So the question is clear. Is Campi Flegrei preparing for something catastrophic? Or are these tremors just another warning sign in a restless land that has been shifting for decades? Stay with me, because what's happening under Pozzuoli is not only about Italy, it could have consequences for the entire planet. The Campi Flegrei caldera sits just west of Naples, home to more than 500,000 people living right inside and around it. Unlike a classic volcano with a single cone, this is a massive depression stretching 12 kilometers across. Beneath its quiet-looking towns and harbors lies a giant magma system, still very much alive. For centuries, locals have lived with the uneasy reality of bradicism, slow rising and sinking of the ground caused by underground pressure. But in September 2025, this quiet cycle was interrupted by a burst of seismic activity. Between September 11th and September 18th, scientists recorded more than 50 earthquakes, most shallow, between 1 and 2 kilometers deep. The largest reached magnitude 4.0, powerful enough to rattle buildings and send shockwaves of fear through the region. Each tremor was another reminder that this supervolcano is not sleeping, it is stirring. What makes this swarm alarming is not just the number of quakes but their pattern. Seismologists noticed clusters striking in rapid succession. 22 quakes in just 13 hours on September 18 alone. Most were small, around magnitude 1.0, but their shallow depth is critical. Shallow quakes often point to stress in the crust directly above the magma or hydrothermal system. It means the pressure below is finding ways to crack the surface. For the people of Pozzuoli, every vibration brings back haunting memories of the 1980s, when similar swarms forced evacuations as the ground rose more than 3 meters. Back then, no eruption followed, but the cost of ignoring such warnings is unthinkable. Scientists from INVI, Italy's volcano monitoring agency, are clear. Campi Flegrei is unstable, and each swarm increases the risk of future activity. For decades, scientists believed Mount St. Helens had settled into silence after its catastrophic 1980 eruption. But recent seismic data suggests otherwise. Small yet persistent earthquakes have been detected beneath the mountain, sparking new fears of a reawakening. Experts from the U.S. Geological Survey confirm that these tremors are not random. They're directly linked to deep magma movement under the crust. While minor quakes might seem harmless, history proves that even small signs here can escalate into explosive consequences. What's striking is the pattern. The quakes are clustering in the same zones that triggered the deadly 1980 eruption. That blast flattened forests, destroyed rivers, and reshaped the mountain's very profile. Now, seeing seismic echoes in those same fault lines is more than coincidence. It's a red flag. Scientists warn that ignoring these tremors could be a dangerous mistake. Adding to the concern, ground deformation has been observed. The earth around the crater is slightly bulging, suggesting molten rock is pressing upward. It's as if the volcano is breathing, quietly expanding, preparing for something larger. To many, it feels like history is on the verge of repeating itself. Beyond the tremors, new thermal anomalies have shocked researchers. Satellite imagery reveals unexpected heat spots around the crater, far above normal geothermal activity. This surge in temperature means magma could be inching closer to the surface. Scientists note that these signals aren't isolated. They often precede eruptions in stratovolcanoes like St. Helens. Gas emissions add another layer of warning. Sulfur dioxide levels have spiked, a telltale sign that magma is releasing volatile compounds. This gas not only indicates magma movement but also poses serious health risks to nearby communities if concentrations rise further. The mountain is talking, and the message is becoming clearer. St. Helens isn't dead, it's restless, and every new signal adds urgency to the question. Is the Pacific Northwest ready for another eruption? When people in Italy hear the name Campi Flegrei, fear mixes with memory. They know this caldera has erupted before, most recently 500 years ago in 1538, when a new mountain, Monte Nuovo, suddenly rose from the ground in just a week. That eruption wasn't massive compared to what this supervolcano is capable of, but it permanently changed the landscape and forced people to abandon their homes. Imagine seeing the earth split open beneath your feet, and a volcano rising where none existed before. Today, with over 500,000 people living above this restless magma system, even a small eruption could trigger chaos. Roads, hospitals, homes, everything lies inside the caldera's danger zone. Scientists warn that the next eruption doesn't have to be catastrophic to be devastating. Even a moderate event could force mass evacuations in Naples and Pozzuoli, turning life upside down overnight. If you lived in Pozzuoli and felt over 50 earthquakes in a single week, would you stay and wait, or would you leave everything behind? Tell me in the comments, because this is the reality people there are facing today. Earthquake swarms like the one in September 2025 are different from single quakes. They don't release energy in one big shake. Instead, they come in rapid bursts, sometimes dozens in a few hours. This pattern often signals underground fluids or magma forcing their way through cracks in the crust. At Campi Flegrei, the September swarm of 22 quakes in just 13 hours set off alarms among seismologists. Each small quake was shallow, no more than 2 kilometers deep, and that is what makes them so worrying. The Italian National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology (INV) has been closely tracking these events. Their data shows that the ground has been slowly rising for years, and the September swarms are stacking on top of that pressure. It's like inflating a balloon. At some point, the crust can't take it anymore. Scientists aren't saying an eruption is certain, but they agree. Risk is increasing with every swarm. Do you think authorities should begin preparing for evacuation now, even without clear signs of an eruption? Or is it better to wait until danger is certain? Share your thoughts, because decisions like this could save or risk thousands of lives. While Yellowstone steals the spotlight, scientists warn that the Canary Islands' Campi Flegrei volcano poses a very different threat, one that could potentially affect 2 continents at once. Unlike Yellowstone's explosive eruptions, this volcano's greatest danger comes from the possibility of a giant landslide. Studies show that if part of the island's flank collapses into the Atlantic Ocean, it could trigger a mega tsunami, racing across the ocean at terrifying speeds. Imagine waves as high as skyscrapers hitting coastlines. Within hours, the west coast of Africa would be devastated. But that's not the end. The waves could travel thousands of kilometers, reaching the east coast of the United States in less than a day. Cities like New York, Miami, and Boston could all face flooding unlike anything in recorded history. Scientists debate how likely this scenario is, but satellite monitoring has detected subtle movements along the volcano's slope. These shifts may be small, but they're enough to keep experts on edge. The truth is simple. If Campi Flegrei ever collapses, the results would be catastrophic on a global scale. Now think about it. How prepared do you believe major US cities really are for a wall of water taller than most buildings? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this question could determine how vulnerable we truly are. While the Atlantic threat looms from the Canary Islands, on the other side of the globe, scientists are watching Indonesia, home to some of the most violent volcanic eruptions in history. The 1883 eruption of Krakatoa unleashed shockwaves so powerful they circled the Earth multiple times. Over 36,000 people died, and the explosion was heard as far as Australia. But here's the alarming part. Indonesia sits on the Ring of Fire, with over 130 active volcanoes. Modern research shows that many of them, including Mount Merapi and Mount Sinabung, are showing signs of unrest. Merapi alone has erupted more than 60 times in the past century, and its recent activity has forced mass evacuations. Why does this matter? Because Indonesia's volcanoes don't just affect local populations. They have the potential to influence the global climate. Massive eruptions can shoot sulfur dioxide high into the atmosphere, creating a veil that blocks sunlight and cools the planet. The eruption of Mount Tambora in 1815 caused the infamous year without a summer. leading to widespread crop failures and famine across Europe and North America. If we turn our eyes to Japan, the story becomes even more urgent. The country is home to over 100 active volcanoes, but none is watched more closely than Mount Fuji. For centuries, this iconic peak has stood as a symbol of beauty and culture. Yet beneath that calm surface, danger lurks. Scientists say Fuji has been dormant since its last eruption in 1707, but pressure is building deep below. Japan's meteorological agency reports rising seismic activity around the region. A strong earthquake near Fuji could act as the trigger. The 1707 eruption, known as the Hoi eruption, blanketed Edo, now Tokyo, in volcanic ash, crippling the city for months. Today, with Tokyo's 37 million residents, the consequences of a new eruption would be far more severe, paralyzing transportation, shutting down power grids, and possibly forcing mass evacuations. What makes this even more concerning is Japan's vulnerability. Earthquakes, tsunamis, and now the looming volcanic threat. Experts warn that it's not a matter of if Fuji erupts again, but when. And when that day comes, the ripple effects won't stop at Japan. They'll impact global markets, trade, and even technology supply chains. So here's the question. If Mount Fuji erupted tomorrow, how do you think the world's economy would react within hours? From Yellowstone in the US to Cumbre Vieja in the Atlantic, and from Indonesia to Japan, one truth stands clear. Our planet is alive, restless, and unpredictable. Volcanoes and earthquakes don't follow human calendars or political borders. They erupt without warning, reminding us that nature still holds the upper hand. Scientists work tirelessly, installing sensors, tracking tremors, and studying gases. But even the most advanced technology can only give us hints, not certainty. That's why experts stress preparation over prediction. Whether it's emergency kits in households, evacuation plans in cities, or international cooperation on disaster response, preparation is the only shield humanity has. But here's the reality most people ignore. A single massive eruption could alter the world for decades. Food chains disrupted, economies shaken, skies darkened, and climate shifting. It has happened before, and history warns us it will happen again. The real question is, when that day comes, will we be ready, or will we be caught off guard like those before us? Stay alert. Stay informed. Stay informed. Subscribe to Story Vault. Because these stories aren't just history lessons, they are warnings written in fire, ash, and stone.